All right, good afternoon. It is June 30th, and this is my trade report for today. So today for me was not a good day at all. It was kind of a rough day. Numbers wise, it was a losing day. It wasn't too, it was bad, but it wasn't, I've had worse. It's just frustrating. So down 585, 575 in this one for some reason, 1760 in the big account. So definitely a big step backwards. Not the end of the world, but not good. So the reason that I was really frustrated today is that because is I expect more of myself. All right. And one of the reasons that I'm doing these videos in the first place is really to bring accountability for myself because the strategy that I'm following works. And that's what I want to go over today. I don't even want to really look at the trades I made because they weren't great trades. I'll show one here where it was the first trade of the day, my full position size, and it was a loser, and that was most of my loss for the day. I had a couple other trades in there where, plus and minus a little bit here and there, but it just didn't work. And the thing that was eye-opening, and I guess the lesson that I want to learn, I want to teach myself for today, and maybe somebody else can learn something from it as well, is that I didn't follow my strategy. And honestly, if I was like a machine and just did everything exactly the way I have it outlined, I would have been fine. It would have been a great day. And so that's what we're going to look at here. So we'll starting in oil. This was the trade, my first trade of the day, and a losing trade. So what I was looking at here is price came up, it came down, it came up, it came down. And this was essentially, we were coming up to the bottom of the open range box. And so I was conflicted because it's the bottom of the open range box, so I should be looking for a breakout short. However, we were also coming back to the 9 EMA for the first time. Okay, for the first time since passing it way back here. Well, not way back here, an hour and a half before. And so I was looking for the rejection of the EMA. So here's where I failed. Okay. I did get in, based on the EMA strategy, my entry would have been the break of that candle, which is what I did. And immediately it turned around on me. Here's the piece of the strategy that I overlooked at the time. And I don't even recall noticing this. Okay. So I can't say that I deliberately evaded my rules or didn't pay attention, but I should have. I have a little indicator here to remind me that there's a pivot here. Okay, so the rule says if we create a new high, which we did, and we come down to test the EMA, if that test breaks below the pivot that took us to that high, the trade is invalid. And clearly that was the case here. By the time price came down here and pushed through, obviously we're far below this pivot. And at that point, I should have switched to say, okay, this is an open range trade, which I may not have traded anyway because it's between the EMAs and I don't do that. So this trade should never have happened. But let's see. Let's see if the strategy works. So as the day progresses, I should point out I'm at the park today because it's a beautiful day and I wanted to get some fresh air after being cooped up staring at my computer, getting slapped in the face all day long by the market. So if there's a little wind, I apologize for that. We'll see if I can cut that out in editing. But regardless, here we are. So price comes down. We're in between the two EMAs. We never get a cross of them, right? Price just holds here, holds here, holds here, holds here, holds here. All right. So what do we have? We have price below the 9 EMA, which would be a reset of the 9 EMA long. Okay. Price is below the 21 SMA. So if we got, if we got a good retest off of that, that might be something we could work with. So let's see where let's stick with the gold line or the that 9 EMA. All right. Price comes down here. We come back up. Okay, we test the EMA. The problem with this is when we're on the top side of this 21 SMA. We're always going long. We're not looking for shorts. We're not entering a short above the 21 SMA. All right, so this is an invalid trade, nothing to worry about. Breaks below, and here we just have a chop. We never have a pull away and a return. So no retests, no entries. Price comes up, it kind of comes down, and it just chops around, but we never do come back to our EMA, to our EMA right here. Pushes up, pushes down, and here we have our first test. Okay, so this is the first test after this reset that happened over here when price was below the EMA. This is the first time we come back to test. Okay, so we would have had our entry above this candle at close. As soon as the next candle closed, we'd bring our order. We'd bring our order above this. Okay. And then, now this one I did get into. I got into it late, and it was only one contract. It was only one contract because it was late. And again, I was super annoyed because this is my strategy. I was probably looking at something else at the time. And let's see where it goes. We're looking for 20 ticks. This went from 69 up to 83. So it didn't quite get 20 ticks. But if we get 10, we're covered. We're going to be able to get out for at least break even. All right, we're not going to lose money on the trade. So 10 to 20, and we're good. So this was a good trade. All right, what happens next? Well, we come down, we break through the EMA, we tap the SMA. All right, well, that's awesome. This is a good retest. We can take this trade between the two because we're still on the top side of the SMA. All right, so again, the entry would be at the break of this candle. I missed it actually, because after this, I went back to look at something else. I came back here, we'd already pushed back of it. And what happened here was I didn't have time to create an order and move it down, so I just went to hit the buy button, and my mouse slipped and I sold instead. So I actually went short right here when I was supposed to go long. And I got out. I gave it a second just to see. I should have given it another minute. It would have given me an opportunity to break even. Anyway, very small loss. But it worked, okay? So we have not had a test of these SMAs and EMAs, EMA and SMA, that has failed. All right, so if we're following our strategy strictly by the book, we would not have been in a bad trade. We would have made money thus far. So let's see what else happens. We come up here, we create a new high. We come down and we're just chopping around. Okay, now this right here, we would not get into this because the pivot that brought us down was not a pivot high. All right, we went high, we came down. This is kind of a new high and came down. So this is now looking as if it's stair-stepping down. All right, not big, little baby steps, but it's looking like it's coming down. This would not be a valid trade. However, it does come back through and it touches that EMA again. All right, so boom, entry here at 74. It does go all the way to 95, which is 21 ticks. It's golden. What happens next? It ties the high of the day. It comes back down, breaks below. Once we break below, it's an invalid trade. No trade. Now, I also want to point out that if we were looking at this potentially bouncing off the EMA, okay, so say this guy crossed and we put our order here just in case it came back. It kept going down, so we put our order here. We put our order here. This candle closes below, no trade. We would not have been entered into a bad trade. That's the process, okay? Sorry, this video might go a little bit long. Again, this is as much for me as anybody else to walk through this to reinforce that the strategy works if we follow the strategy, okay? And boy, this, let's see. All right, so here we have, it comes up here, we create a new high, we pull down, we touch it again. All right, now one of the other rules is the third test, we don't take the third test, okay? So here we've hit it first, 1 time, 2 times. It actually failed here. We're not going to take this. However, because I had already watched this happen so many times, I took a very cautious entry right here. I trailed a very tight stop, but I wanted to give it room to run in case it was going to. It didn't, so it was a 5 tick loss on this one. Very small loss. And clearly it didn't work. We rolled over, and now we're down below. Okay, so now we're looking for shorts. We're on the bottom. We're underneath the 21 SMA. We're looking to go short. Here we go. Here's a short. See, this one worked, but by now I was so like gun shy because I had screwed stuff up so much that I didn't have patience. Okay, we came down below. We came up. Now this guy did not touch. All right, when this candle formed, it had not gone through that EMA, so that was not a trade. This one did. This is our first test. Now this one gets a little complicated because you have a pivot low, and you have all this choppiness in here. So I would call this, I guess this is one of those scenarios where let's see if the buy the book works, because this is not a clean entry by any stretch. However, I would not consider any of these really pivots up or down because we're trading just within this range. Okay, so we touch it, we get in into the break at 48, it drops down to 35. Okay, so it didn't work there. We come back up, we test it again. Now this time we're coming off of a pivot that's lower. Okay, so whereas this touch came off of this pivot that was lower than here, all right, this one was higher than the previous kind of 2 reaches down, and it tied this guy here. So that's pretty good. So this would have been the good entry, and this one went clearly for 20 ticks. Let me size this in here. And then we just run down. All right, so let's look at the touches. 1 touch. After the cross, we crossed. First touch, second touch, third touch, and we roll up. Okay, we cross it, crisscross it, back up. Okay, and now we're into the afternoon that gets really choppy. And where are we at here? Oh, I think I'm disconnected from the internet, so it's not reading me right now. But that's that. So I won't go through the other ones. We saw basically the same thing in RTY today was just a mess. We can pull that up. I mean, this guy was just everywhere. We can go through these and why these, here we blew through. We blew through. No trade, no trade, no trade. Let me fit this here. There we go. So this was the first one. Again, I don't believe this had actually touched when we got there. When these candles are forming, it pulled this down, so it looks like this went through, but at the time it actually hadn't. So here we have a reset. We come back for a touch, and that would have worked. But again, RTY was really super choppy. What did I do? Oh, I marked one here in the morning, right? So we do come up, we cross up, we come back, we test it, and we break down. Now this is, again, choppy. But why does this work? Well, we're down below the 21 SMA, so we're looking for shorts. We did reach through. We touched the EMA, pulled back down. We would have got in here at 1909.40, and this went down to 6.6, right? So not quite 20, but again, it would have given us enough that we wouldn't have been stopped out, and we would have come away with some profit. So, well, we've been going for 15 minutes, so I'll cut it off there. So disappointing day, but we're going to learn something from it. We're going to push forward. The strategy works. It's all about being disciplined, patient. Patience is really a big part of it because you're watching all this stuff go on, and it's, the trick is always as you're watching these approach, you're like, okay, is this the entry? Is this the entry? Is this the entry? And you have to be able to know right away what the signal is to say it's good or it's not. And that's really the key in my view for this to be successful, at least for me. So that was my recap for the day. Pretty ugly. Going into a holiday weekend, I wish I would have had a little bit better news, but it is what it is. We're going to do better next week. Monday, I think, is a short week. Well, a short day, I mean. The markets are open for a short period of time, I think. So I'll probably get on there first thing to see if there's a good opportunity to make up some of these losses if the market will give it to me. Otherwise, we'll be back at it on Wednesday after the holiday. So if I trade Monday, we'll do a video. If I don't trade Monday, there'll be no video. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Either way, signing off for now. Have a good one.